Well, hello, everybody. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon. Um, I like to make a little. Well, my name is Sammy, and I'm in recovery. And I thought I'd make a. I thought I would might. I thought I would might, or I thought I might uh, make a small, short video on the 12 steps. And when I talk about the 12 steps, I'm talking about the 12 steps of recovery. As you might find in uh, Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous or any other 12 steps that have adopted the 12 steps from Alcoholics Anonymous as a mode of recovery. So that being said, what are the 12 steps and what are they designed to do? And if you say the 12 steps is used to or are for to getting the individual to stop drinking alcohol or stop using drugs, whether it's cocaine or heroin or marijuana, or is it designed to help a person with their food addiction or their gambling addiction or their sex addiction or their addiction to anger or their addiction to resentment or fear? You can't go wrong. Is the 12 steps designed to introduce a person to a God? I would say yes. But the catch there is a God of your own understanding, not a a God of dogma, a dogmatic God where you might find in various religious texts. And the reason why I say that, there are several reasons. Number one, you don't have to come to Narcotics Anonymous to find a God. No, you don't. The reason why I believe, you don't have to come to a 12-step program to find a God or to discover a God or even to get, quote unquote, a God of your understanding. You don't have to do that. You could pick up various literature outside of the 12-step program and be introduced. Well, you won't even be introduced or to, quote unquote, find a God or get a God of your understanding. So it's not designed to do that. But what it is designed to do in the case of getting a God or a higher power is it is a stepping stone to come up to for lack of a better word, to come up with a God of your own understanding that's not based on dogma. It could be based on your own personal life experience. It could be based on your own creativeness, but it doesn't have to be based on something from like a Bible or Quran or a Hebrew text or any other text. And the reason why the word God is used is for a stepping stone for a person to come up with something of their own understanding. And check this out. From my opinion and my view, even if you're an agnostic or you're atheist or you deal in metaphysics, you would still come up at some point with the power of your own understanding. Don't have to use the G word, you know. So this is what this program is designed to do. And let me put it in another way. For somebody to come up, for the individual or group to come up with the God of their understanding based on their own view. But long as this God, quote unquote, G word, is loving and caring and greater than yourself. That's it. What has happened, I will admit, is that dogma has crept into all the fellowships at some point. And what we hear is dogmatic gods, whether it be Islamic or Christian or Hindu or Buddhist or whatever. A lot of times people come up with their own, or from the Jewish scriptures. We don't want to leave anybody out. So what happens is at some point, the recovery process becomes tainted. It becomes tainted with an ideology of a God that's based on what? On dogma. When you look at the third step, you talk about a power greater than yourself. And what is that step designed to do is to several things. One thing is to shrink the ego. Matter of fact, to take the ego away. And it supports anonymity or anonymous, the idea of a anonymous fellowship. But a lot of people take it as a power greater than themselves, as God. This particular step is designed to keep the individual in where? In the here and now. Because why? Recovery happens in the here and now. It don't happen. It doesn't happen in the future or in the past. It happens in the present. And a lot of times it won't happen even with a God. Yeah, figure that one out. But what has happened is like I said, dogmatic religions have infiltrated the fellows. These not only the fellowships, but the spiritual program. And in turn, what it has done is it has turned members away to not only away, but to create fellowships of their own. The 12 steps as a spiritual program is designed to incorporate everybody. That's why it's an anonymous program bearing no name. But what has happened? We have various groups now. We have gay, we have lesbian, we have secular. We have Christian, we have Islamic groups, we have various types of groups. So what has happened is the 12 steps themselves has been tainted. And what we experience is factionism. We have experienced factionism based on what I just said. So we have groups that spring up representing different philosophies. Even though spirituality is not a philosophy, it is a being, B-E-I-N-G. It's a state of being, not a concept. Not a concept. So that being said, back to my original question, what is the purpose of the 12 steps? The purpose of the 12 steps is to start an individual at one point and then to take them along a spiritual path where they meet who? Themselves. It's a reintroduction to the self and also of the many personalities that a person may pick up along the road of addiction is designed to filter those personalities out and have the individual not become an individual. Because what happens is you're becoming at peace and at one with your environment and the quote unquote self. This is the purpose of the 12 steps. I ain't to introduce you to no higher power, no God. That's not the only purpose. So what happens is members with clean time, members with no clean time, they will at some point come face to face with the situation, a recovery situation, and will not be equipped to mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally survive a situation. Because their program is tainted. And I would say, who's at fault if there is a fault? It's usually the people or the groups who have factionalized the recovery process. Yeah. To say that a gay person or a lesbian person or group or a non-religious group recover different from any other group or individual, it's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. And there you have egos at play. And let me point out something. In the second step in most recovery programs, it says, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And it says could and not would. So a lot of people go to the higher power, but they forget that addiction and alcoholism is a power greater than yourself. And where does it lie? In the thinking. Your thinking, my thinking, they thinking, he, she, they, and it thinking. And the many symptoms of the disease of addiction / alcoholism is always at play. Even if you throw up the GOD, or if you take it and take it out of your literature, secular people, you still up under your disease. The disease of addiction. If the disease affects a person's thinking, how do you know, how are you convinced that the very groups that you have set up is not based on a power greater than yourself called your ego? Because the 12-step program is designed to what? Deflate the ego. And that's where it deflates it in the second step. And in effect, and also in the process of what? Anonymity through the anonymous program. What does anonymity mean? The state of bearing no name. Well, how do we come up with all these groups and groupings, except for a deaf group, for the deaf? For obvious reasons. But you got the lesbians think they recover a certain way. The LGBT recover a certain way. The blacks recover a certain way. The whites recover a certain way. The Indians recover. All these groups. And they based on ego. And what happens is these different ideologies are crept in. Well, God is a he, she, or God is a he, or my or I can only have a Christian. I'm only sponsoring Christians, or I'm only sponsoring Muslims. But when you was out there drinking, when you was out there overeating, when you was out there having all that sex, when you was out there using those drugs, then none of that stuff you was using have a sexual identity on it, have a race on it, or have a creed or a religion on it. It said, and when I'm talking about the stuff that you use, I'm talking about your primary symptom. When an individual used drugs, they didn't say, well, go give me a black drug or a white drug or a Christian drug or a Catholic drug. They said, give me some dope. When they went to the liquor store to buy that liquor, they didn't say, give me some gay liquor. Give me some lesbian liquor. Give me some Jesus liquor. Give me some Islamic liquor. They went and bought some liquor. But what happens is people get a couple 24 hours, and this is what happened. They shame and their guilt kick in, and their egos start inflating, and they start thinking that their group has a how can I say it? They start thinking that, well, I can't recover in the same room with this man or this woman or this white or this black or this Indian. Such foolishness, I say. And at some point, a lot of people, quote unquote, relapse. But I would go as far to say this. You didn't relapse because you never surrendered. I don't care how much time you got. Once it's understood that the addiction and the alcoholism lies in the thinking, how in the hell are you going to trust your thinking? Forming a secular meeting or an LGBT meeting, a gay meeting or a straight meeting. A meeting is a meeting. Somebody please tell me. The steps are the steps. When the predecessors, and I'm talking about the true predecessors, because some of y'all fellowships think y'all got predecessors, and you lying to yourself already. There's only one predecessor group, and that's Alcoholics Anonymous. Sorry to say it, but it's true. There's only one predecessor group. Now, anybody could be a predecessor. Hell, if somebody got clean today, they the predecessor for somebody that's got clean the following day. So what has happened inside the 12-step process, a lot of factions are formed. And then we have debates about recovery, the steps, and what they mean. But understand this, if there's no surrender, there's no recovery. If there's no getting past denial, one can never look at themselves or the group. And the reason why I say the group is because groups are definitely addicted. They are. So, if you hit subscribe or not, that's not my problem. I'm not here to do this. I'm just here to present another way of thinking. And that being said, in one of the basic texts, the Narcotics Anonymous basic text, what does it say? It says you have to completely change your old way of thinking or go back to what? Using. It says completely change, not change some of it. Now, the process of completely changing doesn't mean all at once. It means as situations arise. That's what that means. Now, I would suggest that if a person want to go to and start a religious 12-step group, fine. Why? Because there's many ways, there's many roads to, there's only one recovery, but there's many roads to it. It's only one recovery, and that's recovery. But there's many roads. There's many roads. But if a person or a group take a 12-step group that's called themselves anonymous, or anonymity is the spiritual foundation of the groups of that recovery set, and you force them different ideologies, then there's a problem. Because no one knows what anybody is recovering from. The 12-step process is what? Designed to work in any, this is a quote, any area. It says any area. That means any area you want to work the 12-step process on, whether it's your relationships, whether it's with yourself, whether it's on your job, whether it's in recovery. In the 12-step process, the steps of work. That's my experience of 37 years. It's my experience. But what's also my experience of 37 years is that we got gangs inside the rooms of recovery. And it all started with Alcoholics Anonymous. Why? Because they said, what? Well, we ain't gonna have no addicts coming here. Y'all go form y'all own meeting. And that's just the truth. So the division started right there. And in every other recovery group, they just held the flag. But I'll say this, as a person in recovery, until the different gangs that we have in recovery, from the straights to the seculars to the LTGB and the lesbians and the gays, until they become conscious of what they're doing and their division of the 12 steps, your programs will never be 100% effective. Sorry. In Narcotics Anonymous, they say, they says the addict can come to any meeting, and I'm just paraphrasing, in hopes that no addict will ever die. They say, we don't care what kind of meeting you have, as long as no addict is turned away. I beg to differ that that's happened over in the past 5 to 10 years or more. People are discouraged from going to different meetings based on race, creed, color, religion, lack of religion. I say ego, whether it's group ego or individual ego, is found in 90% of the meetings that I've been to. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I just wanted to make a video on it. Hit the subscribe button, because my aim is to talk about steps and traditions and the recovery process without partiality, to be very impartial. Because That's me bringing another element of recovery into the recovery process. And with that being said, I'll see you on the next video. And thanks for letting me share. My next topic is going to be on sponsorship. I'll be talking about sponsorship. And I'll do that today sometime around 3 or 4 o'clock. It is now 3/6/22. And it's 12:30 in the morning. And with that, one day at a time.